Hi guys. All right, this was the stream that I had planned all along before I got dragged into this Amber Portwood stuff. Okay, so this week, where do we even start with this? Okay, rapper T.I., who is like literally the world's worst misogynistic rapper in the world. I don't know if he's the worst, but there's a lot of them. The hip-hop world in general can be pretty misogynistic, pretty sexist, pretty disgusting, pretty patriarchal. And he's made a lot of gross statements, basically stating that he has, his wife's vagina is half his, and that what is mine is his, and that he doesn't have to ask for sex, he can just have it, basically stating that he can just, do whatever marital rape he wants to. And I realize that this is going to be a slightly triggering topic for some of you if you are like a survivor of sexual assault or coercion or anything like that. Please be mindful. I am a survivor of sexual assault, and so this is something that is very important to me, as well as I am an advocate for women's autonomy and a woman's right to choose what to do and what not to do with her body, and allowing our children to have their body autonomy as well, because children are not our property. That being said, during a podcast this week with Nazanin and Nadia, he sat down and talked about whether or not he's had talks with his children about sex. Now, he has a son who is 15 years old, who he doesn't treat this way, bear in mind. But here's what he had to say with these women. And the podcast has deleted this, but I want you to hear what he said so you can get a whole taste of the disgustingness.
Another shocking revelation. Listen to this. Shocking revelation. Listen to this. But,
I heard about when girls who say they virgins have what they do. You guys have contingencies.
What's that? Like what?
There are contingencies and alternative routes.
Oh, Lord. So have you had the sex talk with your daughters?
Have I? We go.
Which, by the way, your daughters are so beautiful.
So beautiful.
So, I'm sure you have your hands full.
And like that one's 18, so she definitely knows about sex.
See,
but
this
I'm
is
just
the
waiting.
thing.
It's Deja, right? She's 18,
yes,
right?
Deja's 18, just graduated high school now, and she's attending her first year of college, figuring it out for herself. And yes, not only have we had the conversation, we have yearly trips to the gynecologist to check her height.
Oh,
Hey! I'm done with you right now!
So,
Do you go with
birthday
her? She's a
party.
prisoner!
Yes, I go with her.
Somebody check on
I
Deja.
go with her.
She's a
And
prisoner.
so let me tell you, right? So this is one time we go. I think this might have been after her 16th birthday. And this is what we do. Like, right after the birthday, we celebrate. And
We go and check her hymen after.
And then,
What the fuck?
usually like the day after the party, she's enjoying her gifts. I put a sticky note on the door. Gano. Tomorrow, 9:30.
Oh, this is great.
And so look, right? So we'll go. You know what I mean? We'll go and we'll sit down, and then the doctor will come and talk. And the doctor was maintaining a high level of professionalism. He's like, well, sir, I have to, in order for me to share information. I say, Deja, they want you to sign this. They want you to
sign this right now. I need to know if your hymen's still there.
So we can share information. Is there anything that you would not want me to know? Oh, okay. See, Doc, ain't no problem.
You are the worst.
And so then, right? Then they come and say, okay, well, I just want you to know that there are other ways besides sex that the hymen can be broken.
Right.
Like bike riding,
Really?
athletics, horseback riding.
That's aggressive. That is aggressive. Impressive
and
writing.
you know, just other forms of athletic physical activity.
Is she an athlete?
Can no.
There you
So I say,
You're like, sorry,
I say,
Doc,
look,
that's not a
Doc.
possibility.
I said, look, Doc.
She's not.
She don't ride no horses, she don't ride no bikes, she don't play no sports, man. Just check the hymen, please, and give me back my results
Oh, dear.
expeditiously.
No. Expeditiously.
But I will say, as of her 18th birthday, her hymen is still intact.
Deja, you are an angel. An angel.
You know,
Okay, so that's the audio. He's basically telling these women, Deja is 18 years old. So he's on this podcast with two women, by the way, who are laughing uncontrollably while he tells them, in all seriousness, that he forces his daughter to go to the gynecologist to have a virginity test to determine whether or not her hymen is still intact. The women are laughing, they are giggling, they are like, it's like, I don't know if they're uncomfortable, I don't know. But he admits that legally, due to her age, he is not allowed to know or have access to her medical records. And he says that he tells her that she needs to sign this form in order for him to know the results of the test. And he even states that he was told that the test is not accurate because a number of factors can affect the hymen, including using a tampon, riding a bike, riding a horse, being athletic. There's a lot of things that can affect the female's hymen. These tests have been debunked by science and are actually, the World Health Organization has said that these are a violation of a woman's human right. So during this, she's signing a consent to allow her father to look at a test coercively, and then a doctor is inserting into her vagina to see if she still has a hymen. And he is proudly telling these women that it is still intact, as though it's a badge of honor. Completely negating the fact that his daughter is an 18-year-old girl. And the women are laughing. Now, given the fact that these podcasts are pre-recorded and are not uploaded or live streamed, theoretically, these women did not have to include this component in their podcast because the information he's providing is about an 18-year-old woman who has rights under the law for privacy, and her medical records are private. And him sharing those records with them and them posting them is violating her privacy. So there's so many parts of this that are disgusting. Obviously, this is getting outrage from everyone. Like, everyone is outraged by this. And even the people that are hosting the podcast are getting backlash, rightfully so. People are angry because these women teased that this part of the interview, they teased that he was going to talk about this in their promos. They used it for publicity. They urged people to watch that he was going to say these things. And it doesn't seem as though these women considered the fact that after putting this information out there, that there's a young woman who's 18 years old, who's a legal adult, whose privacy is being violated. It's disgusting. And obviously people are angry. Most notably, and I'm just going to pull some of these up here, but Planned Parenthood had a lot to say. Planned Parenthood said, I don't know who needs to hear this, but virginity is made up of a social construct, and it has absolutely nothing to do with your hymen. A virgin is someone who's never had sex, but sex means different things to different people. So virginity does too. Many don't care what it means or think it matters. Whatever you believe, the fact is you can't tell if someone's had sex by checking their hymen. They continued, the hymen is a thin, fleshy tissue that's located at the opening of your vagina, like other parts of the body. Here, I'll make this larger for you guys. Like other parts of the body, hymens are a little different for everyone. Many people think that the hymen totally covers the opening of your vagina until it's stretched open, but that's not usually the case. Most hymens naturally have a hole big enough for period blood to come through and for you to use tampons comfortably. Some people just naturally have hymens that are more open, and many other activities besides sex can stretch your hymen, like riding a bike, doing sports, or putting something in your vagina like a tampon or a finger. Once your hymen is stretched open, it can't grow back. Some people think that you can tell if somebody's had sex before if the hymen is stretched open, but that's not the case. You can't tell if someone's had sex by the way their hymen looks or feels. Then Jennifer Gunter, who is literally one of my favorite bloggers, who is also an OBGYN and an advocate for women's health. I absolutely love her content. And I am a humongous fan of hers. She wrote, this is horrible on so many levels. Let me educate you all about the hymen. The hymen is a leftover collection of cells that typically partially occludes the vaginal opening. Many mammals have hymen. Humans, dogs, cats, camels, elephants. If this were for marriage and social constructs of virginity, then other mammals would not have them. The hymen is more rigid at birth and provides more covering for the first 3 years to keep urine and feces out of the infant vagina, which lacks estrogen, so it is very sensitive to irritants. When most children become continent, coincides with the time the hymen starts to take on different shapes and flexibility because evolution no longer cares. Yes, the hymen is like baby teeth. It served a biological purpose for a narrow developmental window, and then when no longer needed is discarded. The hymen is no virginity indicator. 50% of sexually active teens do not have disrupted hymen. The hymen is often very flexible. What about blood-stained sheets on the wedding night? 2/3 of women have no bleeding with the first coitus, and for those who do, it's usually spotting. The hymen does not have a rich blood supply. Blood-stained sheet comes from sexual trauma. Also, 2/3 of women have no pain with first coitus. Some people think that hymens would tell a man at the wedding night, baby was his. No. Chance of conception from single act of sex, 2 to 5%. For most of evolution, mortality in first year, very high. Evolution doesn't invest in 1 to 2.5% chances. Also, if paternity were evolutionarily so important, why invest in the first baby only? So why not have an elephant's hymen that only breaks at childbirth? The hymen means nothing physically, and the hymen exams are medically not a thing and are not unnecessary and support a disgusting patriarchal trope. And then she scared, have I? This is the thing. Deja's 18. I just graduated from high school now, and she's attending her first year in college, figuring it out by herself. And he said, yes, not only have we had the conversation, but we take yearly trips to the gynecologist to check her hymen. And then she said, one more thought. If women were supposed to stay virginal and keep sex for marriage or sex for reproduction, why have a fully functioning clitoris with only purpose is pleasure before reproduction is possible? Exactly. And then she shared this. There is no scientific basis. Virginity testing has no scientific or clinical basis. There is no examination that can prove a girl or woman has had sex, and the appearance of a girl's or woman's hymen cannot prove whether they have had sexual intercourse or are sexually active. So Deja has not said anything publicly, but she liked these 2 tweets, which said, "This is disgusting, possessive, and a controlling." And this is, and then she liked another one that said, "That is beyond possessive." So his daughter doesn't like these exams either. So the World Health Organization has a lot to say about these exams. They, in 2018, on October 17th, the WHO, the UN Human Rights, and the UN Women have today issued a statement calling for the elimination of so-called virginity testing. Virginity testing, which is also often referred to as hymen, 2-finger, and or per-vaginal examination, is an inspection of female genitalia designed to determine whether a woman or girl has had vaginal intercourse. There is no scientific basis. Virginity testing has no scientific or clinical basis. There's no examination that can prove a girl has had sex. It's a violation of human rights. Virginity testing is a violation of the human rights of girls and women and can be detrimental to a woman and girl's physical, psychological, and social well-being. Virginity testing reinforces stereotyped notions of female sexuality and gender inequality. The examination can be painful, humiliating, and traumatic. Given that these procedures are unnecessary and potentially harmful, it is unethical for doctors or any other health provider to undertake them. Such procedures must never be carried out. That's the World Health Organization stating that. And then they ask that the elimination of the harmful practice will require a collaborative response across society supported by public health community and health systems, including health professionals. Health professionals need to be effectively supported to refuse requests by appropriate laws and policies. So this is like not only coercive, it's abusive by her father. It's a violation of her privacy. It's a violation of her body autonomy. It's a violation of her rights as a human. And then him disclosing that publicly and then BuzzFeed laughing and then publishing it is also further violation and victimization of Deja. I'm really angry that not only did he feel like comfortable enough to share that, but that they didn't respond in a way beyond laughing. I understand that people will laugh when they're uncomfortable, but in a situation like this, there's absolutely no reason for that conversation to have continued. They should have just shut it down. There was no reason for them to further ask questions or to probe or to even encourage. And their laughter seemed to amplify what it was that he was saying, and he seemed to get more fueled to share more and more and more. He's a cocky a-hole. And he's the kind of guy that thinks women are property. And he doesn't seem to care that his boy, who's 15, is having sex, but he does want his daughter to be a virgin. It's a double standard. So when the podcast that published this started getting feedback that was negative, they literally said, if you're being negative and bullying on my page, you will get blocked. So the public has been going onto their page on Instagram and telling them how harmful it was for them to publish that they had no right to publish that they didn't consider Deja's privacy, that they violated her privacy, that they laughed, that their response was completely inappropriate, and they view that as bullying. It's not bullying when people are pointing out your bad behavior and asking you to do better. That's not bullying. I feel like we use the term bully far too loosely. And I think this podcast response of blocking people that are concerned is inappropriate. And then they wrote this: to everyone confused, angry, and hurt by the recent episode of Ladies Like Us, we want to start off by saying that we sincerely apologize for our knee-jerk reaction to the uncomfortable topic. We were completely caught off guard, shocked, and looking back, we should have reacted much differently in the moment. The comments that were made and the reaction that followed are not in any way a reflection of our personal views on the topic. We support and love women and feel that their bodies are theirs to do as they wish. There was absolutely no ill intent towards any party involved and feel deeply awful about the entire incident. We are not perfect and we take full accountability of our lack of action and are continually learning along the way. And We know an apology doesn't make this go away, but we welcome the discussion, and that's what our podcast is about. So they welcome the discussion, but then they're going to block you if you say anything. How contradictory. And it's not even that they were uncomfortable. It was more like they were encouraging it. And then they were using it to to build interest in people listening to it. So they knew that this was inappropriate when it happened. They knew that he said it. They had that data, that information for how long, and then they created buzz around it before they uploaded it to promote it, and then they put it online, and then BuzzFeed promoted it as this sort of salacious, scandalous, T.I. says that his daughter gets hymen checks. Not for 1 minute thinking that there is a little girl, a young woman, who's on the other end of that story, whose body belongs to hers, whose privacy belongs to hers. This isn't just T.I.'s fault. This is their fault for putting it out. I mean, and T.I. is not only being abusive, but he is violating his daughter's privacy. He's like going on to the towing line of violating her rights as a patient. And these women are only apologizing now because they got caught. Had the reaction been much different, I highly doubt they would have ever apologized. And I'm sorry if they are learning the hard way. I get it. When you are putting and publishing things, you will always learn the hard way. But this would have been something as myself, as someone that reports on things, that would have never have made it to air. Deja is a girl that deserves respect, and her body is hers, and it's not for others to discuss. And T.I. is disgusting, and this podcast is disgusting for publishing it, knowing that they had it, and then promoting it as a teaser to get views. How sad is it in America that we've come to a place where we tease a woman's autonomy and a woman's body as a way to get views? I can't even imagine what this poor young girl is going through. Like, how she must feel. How she must feel knowing that her father not only has done this, but now has spoken out about it publicly. And now that it's out there, everyone's talking about it. And obviously, we're covering it here. But I want her to know that there are women like me that find that practice of what her father is doing as abusive, harmful, and unacceptable. And that there are women like me that will stand up for her and say that it's completely unacceptable for anyone to be talking about her body, and will tell her that her value as a woman should never be determined on whether or not her virginity is a factor. She can do whatever she wants with her body. If she wants to have sex with 2,000 men, 2,000 men, that is her choice and that is her right. If she wants to have sex with no one, that is her right. If she wants to have sex with women, that is her right. But it's not our right to judge, and it's not our decision to make on whether or not she remains a virgin, and threats by her father to maintain her virginity by taking her to the doctor and forcing her to have these types of exams is abuse. This type of mentality is so prevalent in this community. I have always been a fan of hip hop, but the latent misogyny is so palpable at times that it's hard to listen to sometimes to this music. And I know misogyny exists in all facets of men, but there's this underlying culture where this sort of behavior is somehow okay, where songs about women are of property, where they talk about women being pimped, being prostitutes, being hoes, and men being pimps. Women are not property, and women's bodies are not the property of men. And I'm tired of this kind of stuff, and I'm disgusted at T.I., and I'm disgusted at BuzzFeed. Like, how dare BuzzFeed use this poor girl's body and story for their views? And how dare these podcasters be angry or upset that the public is outraged. They had a responsibility to protect her and they didn't, and they violated her rights so they could make money. So this is where I'm at related to this. I want to know what your thoughts are. If you support this channel, make sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I'm at Without a Crystal Ball on Instagram and Twitter at WOA Crystal Ball. All right, you guys, I'll be back later. Bye.